Executive producer, Renee Wolf. Director, Mark Forster. Producer and songwriter, Rita Wilson. And the stars of A Man Called Otto, Tom Hanks. Mariana Treviño. Manuel Garcia-Rulfo. And Truman Hanks.
What an impressive group that I get to sit with. And I can barely see you, Tom. How's it going over there?
Just perfect.
Hey, I'm curious, raise your hand to anyone on this stage who just saw the finished film for the first time tonight. Wow. I love that. Frederick, let me start with you. Where'd you go? You're over there. Since you were one of the producers of the Swedish version of this film, so you kind of have the longest history with this project. Had you ever thought about doing an English language version of this?
Yeah, so my journey with this project started almost exactly 10 years ago. And so it's a long time ago, and I was lucky enough to read the book manuscript before the book was going to be published. And I just loved this life-affirming and hopeful story. That was so inspiring. It just made me go out and want to make new friends. And I met Frederick Backman, the author, and he had never published a book before. He was like 33, very young. And he came to our office, and he was just so grateful that someone had read his book and liked it. And so, of course, very excited that we want to make a film out of it. Now, the plan was, we never thought the book would sell anything. We just loved the story, and we planned to make a really small Swedish language film, which we produced first. But then the book became a huge international bestseller, and it has now sold 8 million copies around the world. And it has also become a bestseller everywhere, like in Europe, in America. America is the biggest territory for the book. And now the book is selling like crazy in China. That's the biggest. So it's very universal. It's like everyone seems to have an Otto. Every country seems to have his own Otto. So after we did the Swedish film, and we felt how much this story worked here in the US, that was really when the idea started. So that was 5 years ago.
So Rita, my understanding is that you found the book, or read the book, loved it, and the two of you guys watched the film. What went through your mind about how you could get involved with this?
I just had that moment of panic, like, I gotta get this before anybody else does. You know, you have that feeling where you just think, I love this so much. It felt like so life-affirming, and also because Tom and I have discussed many times that it's so hard to make really good comedies that are actually about something deeper, and I thought, you know, he'd be pretty good in it. And so literally, after seeing the Swedish film, that came in one of the Academy packets, right? Back then when they used to send CDs out, and it was folded into like...
They're DVDs, but that's beside.
Oh yeah, DVDs, sorry. And literally within 20 minutes, I was like, we've got to get this, we've got to do this. And we called the next day, and Frederick, I think you happened to be in LA, or you were coming in. You happened to be in LA, and we immediately had a meeting and tried to be all cool about it. And thankfully, Frederick and SF Studios agreed to let us be the stewards of it for a while.
Tom, how nice that you live with someone who's like looking out for your career.
For 365 nights, I slept with a producer to get the part.
Hashtag me too.
Let me move on down the road. David, the screenwriter David McGee, who also did Finding Neverland, by the way, along with David, what was important to you to maintain from the Swedish film, and also to make your own and change and for this version?
Well, I think the character of Otto there is something universal about that guy. The character who holds everything in, who doesn't share any of his emotions with others, and tends to lash out at those who try to get inside with him. And there's something fun and funny about that, but there's also something obviously that is very poignant when you manage to look below those layers. So that was what I responded to. I saw the film first, loved it, then I read the book and loved that as well. So really it was a question of what translates into an American version of that story. We don't have socialized medicine, which plays a big role in the Swedish film. There are several other things that don't quite fit in an American society. So we created Die America and various other things, but I just responded to it immediately.
Mm. How about you, Mark? What spoke to you about the story and the characters?
It's as Rita mentioned before, it is a very life-affirming movie, story and book, and it brings people together. It opens someone's heart, and it's ultimately gives him purpose to live. And I think we're living in very times where everybody is very diverse and very divided and a lot of different opinions. And I think a story like this one that makes you laugh and makes you cry, and also brings people together from all different paths of lives. And I think that ultimately we're all very similar, we're all connected through our hearts, and I think it's important to tell stories that have hope and that life affirming and bring people together in a community, because ultimately, if you look at the most happiest social structures, they're always connected through community. And I think it's a very important thing. So I felt like the stories I'm trying to tell these days are all about hope, because I think, and positivity, because I think when I look out into the world, I see not so much. So I'm trying to put it on the screen.
Tom, for those of us that have spoken to you in the past, you're always exceedingly pleasant. What was your way into this guy? Do you have an inner grouch?
If you don't want to be alone in a car with me when somebody up ahead doesn't turn their signal, use a turn signal. Because I go off, man. I use, let's just say, salty language. And it goes on for quite some time. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna make a left turn, and there's a car coming towards you at the intersection, and you're waiting for it to pass you, and it slows down, and it slows down, and it stops right in the middle of the intersection, and you've got your blinker on, and you're not and then finally they start making their left turn, and all, you son of a bitch. I guess it's impossible for you to hit that turn signal, isn't it? Thanks very much. Thanks for the use of the turn signal. It's wonderful to know that you know where you're going, but I have no idea where you're going. But by all means, let's just stop in the middle of the intersection here in Los Angeles, a city that is made up of left turns. And every single one of you know what I'm talking about.
A simple yes would have sufficed. Can we talk about this phenomenal young actor sitting next to me? You're like a member of the camera union, right? You were Janusz Kaminski's assistant on West Side Story.
Yeah, I'm
right.
a proud dues-paying member of Local 600.
Okay, so how did this happen? Was it like, hey, mom and dad, what's up? Or was it the filmmaker's idea?
It was Mark's fault.
Oh, yeah?
Apparently, I bear a moderate resemblance to the guy playing Old Otto. And
Tom said, I don't think he will do it. I said, just let me sit down with him and talk to him.
yeah, and I think Stranger Than Fiction is one of my favorite movies, which Mark directed. And I think Quantum of Solace is criminally underappreciated. I think it's fantastic. And it's pretty cool to have like one of your directors you really appreciate ask you to get a cup of coffee. And so he was in New York. I live in New York now, and we met up.
Thinking you were going to get like a camera assistant job out of this, or what?
Well, I think
It's a
initially,
bribe. I use it as a bribe.
yeah, because Matthias is the DP. He's brilliant as well, and I think initially I was gonna kind of work in the camera department too, but then I got way too nervous about having to leave those guys in a lurch, and also try to remember lines that Dave wrote. So it was a strange experience, but it was a really unique opportunity.
So did one of you get to watch the other one's scenes before you started, or did it not work that way?
I don't think it did. No, it didn't. We were always shooting slightly different days. I've heard reports, but I come from the Gary Cooper school of studying your script. The first thing you look for is days off. So I didn't show. We saw some photos. We did talk. I talked a little bit about some physical gestures and so the way to walk when you're pissed off. But the thing we're really dealing with is the good news is that I looked like him when I was 26. The bad news is he's going to look like me in another 40 years, and he's just going to have to deal with that. So.
Mariana, you're just so fabulous. I mean, for myself, it was a discovery. I had not seen you act before. I don't know if you guys had seen her act before.
Yeah.
You have? Okay. Well, then I need to find out what you saw, because I want to see more of you. Did you fall in love with Marisol as much as we as an audience do?
Definitely. I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the story, and right now watching it, it was wonderful to see how each person in the neighborhood just contributes to what this thing Mark was pointing out, that we just are stronger together and we forget that, and it's beautiful to see how we can be each other's support system. We just like get together. It seems an obvious thing, but most of the time we forget it. So it was beautiful to see it right now.
But by the way, I wanted to point out, I think, for instance, our casting, where's our two casting ladies? Where are they?
Francine,
Stand up.
Molly, Francine Maisler,
Both of them.
Molly, stand up.
Because of the two of you, I got to meet Mariana, and thank you both, because Mariana.
Can I just say quickly and add a little story? So Francine, you know, we would be looking at auditions, and this audition came up, and it was Mariana's that she did on an iPhone in a hotel room, and she created the world around her. She had a little pot of the food. She was talking to an imaginary Tommy on the side in Spanish, and it was like she jumped off of this screen. And Mark and I, we just thought, what the heck is this that we've just seen? We've got to get this woman immediately. So thank you, Francine and Molly, for bringing Mariana to us.
That's what Rita said. It was the craziest audition I've ever seen. Because he's talking into a cell phone. He's doing the lines of Tommy and Otto as well. And I'm confused a little bit. So she has nobody she reads the lines with. Just for any actors out there. I've never seen like somebody alone talking to the cell phone. It was like the best thing I've ever seen.
All that humanity there as well.
Well, maybe you'll put that audition on the CD of this movie. Wait, did you have an opportunity to do like a chemistry read?
No, we did not. No, we didn't meet each other until we went to the great city of Pittsburgh and met for the first time in the production offices. Rita just came into the room at home and literally said, you need to see this. And it was her, we looked at it on Rita's iPad. And there was just no denying. And, you know, I don't know what the boss said, but she said, what do you think? And I said, well, I think we should just get her. And that was that.
Wow.
I thought she was going to be taller, but actually plays in. But I think the theme of this movie is we hope that everybody in America will want a pack of Mexicans to move across the street.
Yeah.
Did I say pack of Mexicans? Sometimes we look upon them in that way, in the gringo world. But it's like if you want to live a better life, have a busybody Mexican woman knock on your door and say ¿Qué pasó?
Right. Manuel, tonight you're looking much more like the Lincoln lawyer than you are Tom. Right? But you and Mr. Hanks have a history. You guys did Greyhound together.
Yes.
Right? So were you excited when you found out you were going to get to do something else with this guy?
Of course. I mean, it's Tom Hanks, right? So anytime they invite me to work in a movie with him, I'll jump.
What was your favorite thing about Tommy? What kind of was alluring to you about him?
I think I like him that he kind of sees the best in people. Like even though Otto talks him down a little bit, he sees the best in everyone. I think that was I think that was the best thing.
Renee, this is the third film that you've produced that Mark has directed. All I See Is You, Christopher Robin, and now this one. You guys have a long history together. What was most exciting for you to see him take on and tackle with this film?
Well, it's just a pleasure always to create together. We, as you said, have a long, long history. I think each movie is different, but the thing that was especially beautiful about this was how it unified everyone. And so how you tell that cinematically is sometimes even in how you just show through pictures or just show through the subtle nuance of character or performance. And for me, this entire cast, to watch that beauty, that subtlety, it was like a feather dropping, from the ceiling, and where it landed, that was the truth. And so I watched all of this extraordinary group of people keep a strong watch on that truth and create it and live it together, and I'll never forget it. It's one of the most beautiful experiences of my life.
I love it. Let's talk about some music. Mr. Newman, 15-time Academy Award. I can't think of another composer working today when I hear a score that's yours, I'm like, it's Thomas Newman. And it's just so, it's so
that
fun.
good or bad?
No, it's good.
That's right.
But what did you want to add to this whole equation with your work on it?
Oh, you just don't want to get in the way, and it has a certain pace and a certain feeling, and I think that was the toughest thing. What was the pace? When was it heartbreaking? When was it hilarious? And how could you not overly push anything like that and just let the actors do what they do?
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the different themes that are they character based? Is there an Otto motif? Is there?
I guess there is. It opens the movie. It's a little bit of a motor with a little bit of a Telecaster guitar, that kind of Otto against the world. How's that?
I like that.
What was interesting when we first heard that, it was almost like it reminded me a little bit of sort of a Western to Morricone, and I think this little bit of a wink to almost the Eastwood world. And Matt Jesse was also here. Where are you, Matt?
Matt Jesse, our editor.
Where is he?
Where
Matt.
are you,
Matt? Stand up. Where are you?
Oh, there he is. Somewhere up there.
Where is he?
Love you, Matt.
I don't see him. Anyway, Matt and I heard it, and we just and Tom is always very humble, and he was like, because he wrote something else, and he said, I have this other piece here, but I don't know if you guys will like it. And then he started playing it, and I said, oh, this is brilliant. We should.
You always come in late with the good ideas, and everyone's more open to them. But by the time it gets late in the process, so I think everyone was eager to like the last idea.
Not to make this too much of a company town, but the Newman kids and the Hanks family were in the same carpool to grade school.
Yep.
So I got the gig.
We've known their kids. Anne Marie is in the audience somewhere, and they were little, and we drove carpools. So
we've seen
Yeah.
each other in our pajamas in the driveway.
many mornings.
And as was alluded to when the introductions were made, Rita, you are also songwriter of this film. The song that you and Sebastian Yatra sing over the credits, but also makes an appearance in the middle of the film, Till You're Home, just beautiful, and a great fit with the score. How did you work with Tom to make sure that it was as seamless as it is?
That's actually a better question for Tom.
Well, the song existed, so I guess it's more, how do you make everything fit? It's part of working with Mark and saying, does this score leading to this song make sense? And what's the language and what's the vocabulary?
Mark, okay, this is crazy because you put me in a really weird position because he said, I think he knew I was a songwriter, and so he said, I think you should write a song for the movie, and I was like, oh my God. And in my head, like, what I was thinking was like, oh my God, I'd love to write a song for this movie. Wait a minute, I'm the producer of this movie. If it sucks and he hates it, then what's gonna happen? That'll be terrible. So I'm like, I'd love to write a song for the movie, but you have to promise that if you don't like it, that there's not gonna be a problem, that you can just reject it and not think there's gonna be a vibe, because we were writing it before the movie started because he knew where he wanted to use this song. So he promised that if it sucked, he would tell me, and then we'd move on, and there would be no hard feelings.
By the way, I was sweating. I said, I hope it doesn't suck. Including, anyway.
It's so true. But then what blew me away was when, I don't know how you would put it, but then I first time I started hearing what you were doing, Tom, was like I heard bits of our melody. I co-wrote it with David Hodges, who's an amazing songwriter, and I wish he could be here tonight, but he's coming in this week. And so it was very emotional to hear some of those motifs put into the score. So thank you. What an honor.
Pleasure. Rita, did the phrase "Till You're Home" come early in the songwriting process, and the song kind of came from there, or did you work your way back into that title?
Well, it sort of was inspired because when my dad died, Mike Nichols, who was our friend, said, the conversation continues. And that idea that even though somebody's not in your life anymore, that I still have conversations with my parents, my friends that have passed away, and that conversation continuing. And David and I sort of thought about this idea that, when someone's out for the day and you can't wait to get home, till they come home so that you can tell them about your day, that sort of was the inspiration for that. But also that maybe home was a place that was a spiritual home. And I wanted to be able to have it sung from two different points of view. Like a man could sing it, a woman could sing it. So if they were having this conversation, Sonia could be saying to him, oh, I can't wait till you're home, I'm gonna tell you this story. And then at the end, after Otto dies, I was beginning to think that maybe if there was a female voice there, that could be Sonia now welcoming Otto home, and to have Sebastian Yatra, this amazing Colombian singer-songwriter, perform. He did Dos Oruguitas in Encanto, if you guys know who he is. But I was thinking maybe there was a way to bring Marisol and Tommy with Otto to go meet Sonia. So that was all the thinking about it.
Love that. Let me finish with a question for the cast members here, because there's kids in this movie, there's animals in this movie, it's like all the stuff you're not supposed to do. So, which were camera assistants trying to act and doing a fabulous job. Which were the bigger pleasure to work with, the kids or the animals?
Those girls were just, they're
Christina and I'm blanking. Sorry, I'm so nervous. Christina and somebody shout out. Francine, help me. Allie, thank you.
Yeah. They were magical. They should not have, they should not have been as carefree and easy as they were. It was like hanging out with pretty groovy kids. Well, you really did play with them. I mean, and then they just, they happened to be filming at the same time we were goofing around. They were extraordinary.
Yeah, they're very funny. We're very blessed again, our casting ladies, that we found them, and I was blessed in a couple of movies with great kids, but those two were very, very, really special and just wonderful to work with. But I don't want to take a credit for Schmegel, who was the cat, because there was only one cat, it was Schmegel. And Schmegel sometimes performed and sometimes just walked off the set and but the producers gave me green screens days to shoot more Schmegel, and pretty much what you see up there is 90% is Schmegel and 10% is CG, like most actors do. 10% is CG, 90% is not. That's...
And cats really look at you, I've worked with dogs, and the dogs are always looking at the trainer just off your shoulder, It looks like they're looking at you with love, but they're actually looking at the trainer. But a cat looks you dead in the eye. Schmegel, I mean, all that stuff when he's on the bed, literally, Schmegel would just kind of do this. Dead solid, right in the pin spot. It's kind of amazing. And I didn't think you could train a cat, but Schmegel is now, well, he's actually a pilot for Delta Airlines. That's how smart Schmegel is, So literally, I'm Schmegel, I'm your pilot. We should be landing in Savannah, Georgia, right on time. Schmegel.
I can't thank all of you enough just for being here and taking the time and showing us this absolutely gorgeous film. So all of you, congratulations.